Hail, Internet! It's Paul. It's Matt, the Dork Lords. Today we're talking about the 4th episode of Season 2 of House of the Dragon, the Red Dragon and the Gold.
Yes.
Reference, obviously, to the amazing fantasy violence at the end of this episode. Rhaenyra's Red Dragon, Meleys, versus Aegon's Gold Dragon, Sunfire, and then Aemond and Aegon in the mix. We open with another Damon dream sequence. He's still trying to get some sleep within the weirwood-infested walls of Harrenhal. In fact, we learn his bed is carved from a weirwood tree. That's probably not the best idea. His latest nightmare finds him standing in front of the Iron Throne. A young Rhaenyra is seated on the throne. She speaks to him in High Valyrian, saying that Viserys loved her better than Damon, leading to Damon cutting off Rhaenyra's head. Interestingly, he has difficulty understanding her Valyrian speech at first, which seems to be a parallel to a later conversation between Aemond and Aegon, in which Aegon is obviously struggling to understand Aemond's Valyrian words. We end with Aemond and Aegon incinerating Aegon in a maybe he can rationalize it as friendly fire sort of way. Then killing Meleys, leading to the death of Rhaenys. Aemond appears to be ready to finish off his unconscious brother, but Criston Cole arrives and Aemond sheathes his sword. The show leaves it ambiguous as to the fates of Sunfire and Aegon, but they are both very likely alive. Very injured, but alive. All that said, Paul.
Yes.
What'd you think of episode 4?
Yeah, another rousing episode, I thought. You gotta like some dragons going after each other there. You know, you gotta like that.
Is that the best? I mean, maybe arguably the best combat scene in like the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon universe?
Sure.
I mean, maybe the fight that occurs to me that I always kind of come back to is that Battle of the Bastards. I just remember when I first saw that fight going, what? Like, how did they pull that off? And so, you know, obviously there's a lot of CGI here, maybe less so in the Battle of the Bastards. But just to say, the overall effect, incredibly impressive. A very watchable scene, and you get that sense of how useless ground troops are when you bring in the
yes.
WMDs of the dragons.
It's funny though how many times when I watch something I think, how could they have avoided this?
Well, I think that's important.
Right?
And
it's for the people too. It's sort of like, if somebody had said, why don't we send somebody? Instead of going straight to this wren's nest or whatever.
Rook's Rest. Yeah.
Rook's Rest. Yeah, why don't you go to Harrenhal first, and then have Damon join you?
Right.
Or
do some scouting in some way. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You kind of charge in and like,
because, hey, that was Damon's plan before
that's right.
His wife got back. It's like, hey, let's just go. Let's just go get him. Come on.
I guess Rhaenyra was still of the let's not use dragons. We don't want to use our nukes.
Right, but he thought that them combined could do it. And, them combined.
Yeah, no, agreed. Because ultimately, as it turned out, they had to end up using nukes. So they've done it.
And then when
anyway.
I'm like fighting for, thinking how the Greens could have been smart, it's like, if they just told, Aegon.
Yeah, told Aegon the plan.
Yeah.
Because he starts feeling slighted that, wait, you guys are making plans without me, and then he gets talked down to by Alicent, and Alicent obviously having these thoughts. She's been reading the histories because she's trying to see if Rhaenyra was right, and obviously Rhaenyra was right. And so when she has that conversation with Aegon, where she just basically says, maybe you should just listen to your betters and maybe just do nothing. Could you just do nothing? And Obviously, would have kept him healthy.
Yep.
For now, if he had done that. But they do a good job, especially with the last episode and this one, of planting that seed of like Aegon he wears those trappings of the old Aegon the Conqueror's armor.
Yes.
He just wants to desperately go and like ride a dragon and do the romantic hero in his little fairy tale. And so I think they sold that pretty well. I think it's a difference from the source material, where I guess it was actually a planned ambush, where it would be Aegon and Aemond surprise Rhaenys.
Okay.
As opposed to here, where it was just going to be Aemond surprises Rhaenys. And then Aegon comes in and gets hurt.
That's the other thing. It's sort of like, hey, come on. You already got your sword out. What's Kristen going to do once you've put him out of his misery?
Yeah, it's a little... I went back and watched that a couple of times because it is... You can interpret it a couple of ways. You could interpret it, if you were to be kind, let's say, to Aemond. It suggests the way he's holding the sword before Kristen Cole comes up to him is like, hey, it looks like he might be sheathing his sword anyway.
Yeah.
And so it might be that he had his sword out because he was on the battlefield. Then he found his brother and he's going to sheath his sword. But it's not clear, and I think it's deliberately not clear.
Yeah.
What the hell was he about to do with that sword?
Maybe, he was giving his brother a break.
Yeah, that's right. Or maybe right. Or very much so. It could be like put him out of his misery, or put the dragon out of its misery, or something like. Oh, look, I don't want to see him suffer. But you do. I mean, you have this great. We were talking about it last episode. Boy, Aegon is being so desperately mean, bullying his younger brother in the brothel, and that carries over. We had some comments on the last video that were reminding me that obviously Aegon has been doing this for a while since the dragon pig and all that kind of stuff, where he's just been really cruel to his brother. And so that plays out here, where we see this moment where Aemond's about to take off on Vhagar, and then he sees his brother fly over, and he's like, wait. Now, again, that could be tactical. Like, let's let them engage, and then I'll come up and once they're engaged, attack. But it also feels very much like, let's let him take the brunt of the first attack. And then while he's engaged, I'll come and shoot fire at both of them.
I love his thank the gods. Because he was getting his little ass kicked.
And so that'll actually be very interesting to see what the show does for a disfigured Aegon going forward. Like, how bad are they just going to put him in like bandages forever? Or is he going to be some kind of burned half of? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the makeup job is for our critically injured Aegon going forward. But yeah, plus there's a really cool, because so Aemond's motivations. Okay, I want to take out Rhaenys, which he does. But look, unfortunately, collateral damage on my brother that I hate. But the added part of that, it's not just, I hate my brother, but also, in the book form, there's still a living son. Blood and Cheese killed off a son, but in the books there were two sons. So now there was still an heir. Right. Aegon still had an heir. Well, in this, he doesn't. So you would almost think probably the crown would pass to Aemond if Aegon dies.
Sure.
So it gives Aemond even more motivation to be like, oops!
Yeah.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah.
The idiot who doesn't even know High Valyrian. When he tries to talk back in High Valyrian, and it's like completely grammatically incorrect.
Yeah.
I can get to fight with they made him pretty stupid.
They did.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was really effective. Probably a book purist might be upset with that change. But I think it's a really good, high intrigue and brotherly dynamics that are in play here. So I'm all for it. Also, just seeing how the ground troops are completely irrelevant once the dragons come into play, and then we see that Rhaenys's dragon, when it falls onto the walls of Rook's Rest, and so then the ground troops are like, hey, we can get in now. But Kristen Cole, I feel like there's that moment at the end where he's in shock and he's just walking around, and he tries to like rouse one of his fellow soldiers, and it's like, oh, he's Ash. And he's trying to walk up a hill. He's trying to find the king, basically, but he's just dazed. And there is, I think he's genuinely shell-shocked at what he's witnessing here. And I'd like to think that maybe he's even reflecting on how cavalierly he sent all these men to just horrible deaths. But I don't know. Anyway, it was interesting. It was like a blow to his ego in that moment, because he had this great plan, and as long as it was like a chess game, it worked out. But then seeing just the abject destruction on the field, and those are his guys, the people that followed his instructions, I think maybe has an effect on him in that way. So
yeah, I guess it certainly could be another thing he sort of punishes himself over.
Right. You're right. He is a self-punishing villain.
Yeah.
He's not just I know everything, blah 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 blah.
Even though certainly what his whole sanctimony and hypocrisy over his judgment of Rhaenyra, it's like, get over yourself. But he's,
and his hypocrisy in judging Eric, right, when he sends Eric off to his death. Like, you were asleep at your post. Okay. Oh, was he? Okay.
I actually was at my post with another stupid prince.
But his plan has come to fruition, and it's worked. He, instead of going straight for Harrenhal, which is what he said he wanted to do, he's gone up the coast instead, and basically he set a trap. But also what he's done here now is he's cut off all the castles on the coastline, so he's separated Dragonstone. And now they can pretty much have an early warning system. If the dragons start coming over, they'll know it. So it's been a tactical success for him. Although, I've seen the trailer for the next episode, and it looks like they're bringing the king in a box, like they're carrying him around. Like, well, don't look at the king. Oh, we get
the victory box.
Yay! But look at the king in a box.
Yeah.
So, there's this moment of like, my plan worked, but what the hell was the king doing here? And now maybe this is all for naught. So he's, anyway, he's at a little bit of a quandary there. Pre-battle, we have a few things there where Damon, finally he meets up with Alice. We talked about Alice Rivers last time, and she explains the history of Harrenhal. She gives him a very strong sedative to help him sleep. I mean, like, he takes it, and then he's waking up at the table, like, where have I? What's happening? Oh God! He is still not communicating with Dragonstone, and so he's still hasn't come to the like, I'm making up with Rhaenyra yet, which is, I think, part of all these dreams he's having.
Sure.
Are part of his. What do I want out of this? How do I deal with this conflicting emotions in me? The impulse, perhaps, to want to be king, and this love for Rhaenyra, and being an honorable person. How do I juggle all these things? I feel like that's where these dreams are kind of spinning around for him.
Maybe. I mean, we saw another thing we see in the trailers, though, is that it's telling him, you should be king. You are
okay.
built
Well,
to be
maybe
king.
it's just like a pushing him in that direction. Okay.
Yeah.
We do get that part of one of his dreams. He thinks he's following Aemond around, but when Aemond turns around with the eye patch, it's actually him wearing the eye patch.
Yes.
Which shows maybe a connection between him and Aemond. They're two people that are not the chosen ones, so to speak, but are potentially in the position to be the chosen one if things go right.
Perhaps.
The right people die. So anyway, and obviously their fates are going to be linked probably much later. I doubt this season, if I had to guess. I would think that the the final fight with Damon and Aemond probably comes more like a season 3, if I had to get. But maybe, I don't know. They may speed that up. We have Larys now knows that Alicent. I mean, he's kind of like
it's clear.
He's evil Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
She's having sex with Kristen, and then she took some of the moon tea to make sure she's not having any kids with Kristen, and it makes her sick. And he also sees that she's been reading the histories. And, he's a smart guy. Maybe he starts figuring out, like, why does she... maybe she's having doubts, as I'm guessing. He's like, maybe she's having doubts about whether Aegon should be the actual heir or not. But Rhaenyra kind of returns unexpectedly to her council, and I think her son Jace kind of takes the form of the audience with like, "What were you thinking? What? Why would you take that risk?" So good. I needed somebody to say that. So good. But she basically makes it clear though. Okay, that's what it took. I had to give it a chance. I gave it a chance. I gave peace a chance, and it's not gonna work. So bring out the dragons. She then recounts to Jace the Song of Ice and Fire. So she's passing down that lore to say like that's why this is important. It's not just I want to be rich and powerful. It's like no, according to our family legacy and the prophecies from our family. We're supposed to be able to be sitting on the throne when some horrible threat comes, and we can unite the people against this other outside threat. And so that's why it's important that the right people are sitting on the throne. I think that's kind of where she's coming from.
Sure.
Which gives her a little extra inspiration for her righteous cause.
Yeah, it's funny. I held off on that battle. And,
I had a feeling you would, actually. I told Jackie, I was like, I know that everybody's going to be like, oh my God, this dragon fight was amazing. And I'm like, I'll bet you Paul's going to be like, yeah, I just fast forwarded past the dragon fight. But anyway, so it's funny that you didn't watch it originally.
So I watched it and now that's all I can think about is that dragon fight.
Okay.
So
it's a well-realized fight.
It really is, actually. I mean, you can think of the moment, last season when Luke is killed.
Yeah.
And that wasn't anything like this.
No. They even had a little. Yeah. They even gave some emotion there. I mean, whatever. It's an animated dragon, but the fact that Meleys is getting her neck snapped, and she looks toward Rhaenyra, and they share this moment, and Rhaenyra's like, you know what? I give up now. Oh, she had no choice, but she basically like consigns herself to death along with her dragon. It was
unfortunately, I'd heard the events of it, and it doesn't. The fact that she goes back, I guess she can. She's now not around to talk about it.
That's a good
talk
point.
About
now
why
I feel
she
like
kept going back.
There was that she was. Yeah, you're right. There was this moment where she theoretically could have escaped, but I wonder. I'm guessing Vhagar is faster than her dragon, and so I'll bet you there was a sense of I will never make it back to Dragonstone.
Maybe
if I try.
I mean, apparently I've heard some saying that she's got a fast dragon.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong then.
Okay. But I was kind of thinking after that battle, maybe not.
Also, come on now. Don't fly low over the cat. Like, there's this giant dragon, which actually looked really cool. It's coming through the trees, and it was almost like a Jaws moment. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, it's a huge dragon. It really can't surprise you if you're up high and in a cloudless environment.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? Fly low over a castle. You're like, oh, man. Oh, I just got whooped. Anyway, so for something so huge, if you think about how Vhagar surprised Luke in episode 1 or season 1, and then surprised Rhaenys here. You're like, he's like the most giant stealth flying object around. It's like, wow, okay. I wouldn't have thought stealth was in his list of traits, but it is. It is. Yeah. So Rhaenys is gone. A compelling character, and we saw she had that one last conversation with her husband.
Yeah, and they really are setting up, that one character there.
Oh, Alan.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like he is related. I think
he's the
he's the
bastard son. Yeah, he's the bastard son.
Yeah, he's a bastard son. Another person who could possibly ride a dragon. We're seeing a lot of hints at characters that could ride dragons, and so we're coming around to that. Maybe by the end of this season, there'll be like a call for dragon riders, and we're going to see all these characters that
we also saw. I guess was it a brother of his who was talking to him, telling him that he should step up, I guess, or try to use those family connections.
Yep. Saved his dad. They're dropping in these characters throughout these episodes, kind of in a good way, where it won't be a big shock when they show up. But it's Anyway, so good on him for that. Again, the pacing. Yeah,
presumably, now that his wife is dead, he'll want to engage even more.
Right. Vengeance. So a lot going on. It was a battle scene that really captivated the imagination. Well done show.
Yeah.
And we'll be back talking about episode 5, also talking about the Acolyte and the Lazarus Project. So come on back for all that. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem.
And we'll talk to everybody next time. Bye.
Bye.